Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. And today's topic is Star Citizen, too ambitious for its own good. The reason I kind of thought about this topic was I started playing Rebel Galaxy recently, and I've been really lucky to have a key and play it early, and that's been awesome. And basically, what Rebel Galaxy is what I had in my mind that Star Citizen kind of would have been as its original pitch. Obviously, a little bit grander and multiplayer. That's a huge factor here, is that Rebel Galaxy is a single player game, Star Citizen is a multiplayer game. So it's hard to make that comparison like one to one, right? But Rebel Galaxy was very much mechanic wise built like Wing Commander Privateer, Privateer 2, and Freelancer were. And Star Citizen is basically the spiritual successor to those games, right? And it started creating this question in my head. Like, we have all these really awesome, beautiful things in Star Citizen, procedural planets, the ships look amazing, you know, ship physics, all sorts of cool stuff, right? But we also don't have even remotely a finished product yet, and development's been going on for a long time. Lots of bugs in the builds that we're playing, and the reason for that is because the scope of the game changed from its original 2012-2013 to now where we are in 2019, and it continued to grow and grow and grow over the course of its development. And I would argue that the scope is still changing at this point. Maybe not as drastic as it did when they were doing things like stretch goals, but they're always kind of making changes and more to make the game look and feel more realistic rather than maybe focusing on the gameplay elements first, right? So there's a lot of factors here. We know they're working on technology to just scale the game to any real multiplayer, massive multiplayer online capabilities. So there's lots of things going on here. But there's lots of people who backed a long time ago. There's lots of people who backed maybe around 2.0, 3.0, and there's lots of people who have been backing more recently. And I really am curious, and why I'm having this show with this topic is not because I feel any sort of way. I kind of feel somewhere in the middle. Where are they too ambitious? Maybe, but we have some really awesome things too. So it's like you can't have both, kind of thing, right? But I really want to hear what you guys think and how you feel about it. So I'm gonna get ready, and we're gonna bring in the first caller. But yeah, the most important thing for the callers, guys, when you do call in and when you do make tweets, remember, use hashtag ATC17 or respond to the live tweet that I just posted out. And if you do make any YouTube comments as well, let me know when you backed, because I'm curious if the early backers want more of like the Rebel Galaxy experience, or if they're happy with the kind of change in scope and these beautiful procedural planets and the amazing screenshots that we get all the time with the lack of gameplay that goes with them. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious where people's minds are at. So anyway, we're gonna bring in our first caller, who is ASN. Hey ASN, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, perfect. So yeah, where are you at with this?
Okay, I'll tell you when I backed. I backed October 2012.
Okay.
And I'm number backer 42,000 something, so got the lucky number there.
Nice.
So should Star Citizen have changed its scope? So that's a good question, and I noticed that you talked about Rebel Outlaw Galaxy a little bit, which looks really nice, and it really looks like a homage to the old games like
games.
Privateer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there needs to be a distinction there, right? It's still a single player game. It's still an experience that you can have only for so many hours.
Yeah,
So it's really hard to compare that to Star Citizen, but it's better to compare that to Squadron, for example, right?
I
Um,
disagree though, because the gameplay elements in a game like Privateer, and that's not a game that does like, okay, there's a story element to
mm,
Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, right? And you should have a finite amount of time before you finish that story. But it does seem like there's endless side missions and things that you can do. And if you were a studio like Cloud Imperium, you could continue to add new ships into the game if you wanted and things to work towards, right? Maybe the story is over, but the game can obviously still continue. So I don't think, like, that's why I kind of cut you off. I don't think it's fair to compare them to Squadron. Maybe from a development angle, yes, but we're talking specifically about the
mm.
scope, right? The procedural
Um,
planets, the fidelity of the game, the fact that
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
fly straight down to a planet and don't have cutscenes. How long were we in development hell to get that specifically, right?
I still have to go back to that point because I don't think that kind of holds true. Any kind of single player game that gives you an infinite or repetitive amount of quests, it really doesn't matter much. It's the main story that drives a single player game. After that main story ends, you can only extend the experience for so long. I mean, if you play The Witcher 3 and then you continue doing all the rest of the stuff, that will eventually end. Even if you had repetitive missions like Skyrim, people didn't play Skyrim because they had the repetitive missions, right? Single player experiences are designed to end. And I think that's why it needs to be separated from an MMO or multiplayer experience, which you can repeat over and over again, but the circumstances change, which influences your gameplay. And you're like, okay, it's a new experience every time I hop in. So I think they're fundamentally different things and they should be really looked at differently because that's why I backed Star Citizen. And for me, Squadron 42 is a different thing because that's that one set piece single player experience. While Star Citizen is something that can renew and regenerate and change, and it's dynamic and it's constantly evolving, right?
Okay.
So I look at that stuff that way. I do understand that what you mean by adding content, but it's
But
not
this
like
isn't
GTA
a
Online.
but the topic isn't comparing Rebel Galaxy Outlaw to Star Citizen. Me
Yeah, yeah,
playing
I
Rebel
do
Galaxy
understand that.
Outlaw
Yeah,
only spawned this idea in my head that where would we
yeah.
be if the scope didn't change? Would we
Honestly,
be
if we
having a
didn't have
Rebel
Star
Galaxy
Citizen,
Outlaw experience, but in a multiplayer universe that has these endless things at this point in 2019? Maybe.
okay, if you put it that way, it changes. So you still put the multiplayer element. That the reason why I say that is if we didn't have Star Citizen, if we just had Squadron, we would have Squadron right now.
Of course.
Um, so that's the thing there. Like two of the titles are actually slowing down the progress a lot. But I'm gonna just go back to the initial point a bit more, and then like should SCF change its scope? Um, I don't think so because I don't
Okay.
think people backed as like most people. There's a crowd that backed for a Freelancer 2 or a new Privateer or a new Starfighter, like that type of experience. Definitely, there's a crowd within the initial Kickstarter that really really wanted that. But I think I honestly think it's go big or go home because a lot of recently a lot of the new companies and like big publishers and companies that come up, they don't want to push the product as much as they can. They want to stay safe, make money, be operating safely so they can pay their employees and everything goes well. I didn't want to back a project that wanted to be safe. I wanted to back a project specifically that could just go crazy and see how much they can do, right? Of course, they can't do everything they promise, but even if they do 5%, I'm fine. Even if they do 10%, which they kind of did, it's still going the right way. It's kind of like looking at Elite Dangerous and looking at the production of that and comparing it to Star Citizen, looking at the both games. Elite is out there, has been since years, had post-launch content. A lot of players play it, enjoy it for what it is. But the end goal of Elite has never been laid out. Like they say they want to do stuff that is kind of like Star Citizen or also kind of its own thing. But it's never been like we're going to be this one crazy new universe that has all these game mechanics and different genres in one. It's more like we are this huge sandbox exploration game with these mechanics where you can get lost in. But it's not an MMO. It has elements of multiplayer, but it's not this, constantly changing player influence universe. While Star Citizen is. And that's why people, I think, are, really like interested in the title, or like they back it. It's that scope and that craziness that, draws the bigger community of what can be. If it's the right or wrong thing, that's up to
still
more time to decide.
Yeah, we won't
It's
know
still to be
yet.
decided.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have backed a safe game. Honestly, I'll be like, okay, that's just another title, just like the rest of them, which are
when
great.
did you
I'm not
back?
saying those are bad titles. I backed very early.
I know.
In October 2012.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that that's clear. I
for the MMO. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you backed way back then because we were talking way back when it was only before there was even a PvP module, right?
Yeah, I played from 0.1 from the Hangar module until 3.6, every patch.
Yeah.
I've seen like everything pretty much.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that that's clear for everyone that's listening, because I think you would, if I was to guess, that people that backed in 2012 would probably want more of the Rebel Galaxy kind of experience rather than what we're going to get in the future, where it's ground and air and procedural planets and all the crazy things that they've been working on lately, for a number of reasons, right? Like they've been waiting for 6 years now, and
yeah, I'm waiting too. You're waiting, of course, too. We're all
but
waiting.
I imagine that impatience is coming into that factor, right? Like it's going to factor into that decision in their mind, is that their lack of patience, and then on top of that, I wonder if it's the lack of patience or the fact of what they originally had in mind of the game when they backed, and like the two kind of,
which is a smaller scope, right? Like everybody agrees that the scope increased quite dramatically as the funding increased, which is like, that's the two-way strategy that they once made that decision. So are we going to take more money? And if we take more money, what are we going to do with it, right? So that was like 2012, 2013, because you can clearly see once you reach a Kickstarter goal, generally you don't say give me more. You just leave a donation open on your website and you focus on what you promised.
Yeah.
But they went the other way. They're like, all right, money is coming in, let's just open the floodgates, let's see where it takes us. If they went the other way, they just closed all the gates down. They're like, okay, let's just work on this core little thing, just like Elite did, which is an established studio, blah blah blah, whatever. They would have been at a different place. But if they accepted the money and didn't increase the scope, that would be way worse. Because then people would be saying you took $250 million but you're still making the small game you promised, right? So it's a very it's a series of decisions that got here. Definitely. But I'm actually thinking that the foundational design choices this game is making will make it a unique MMO. Because essentially what I want is EVE Online, but first person and a new gen technology. That's what I want. Which is not going to be Star Citizen, but Star Citizen is going to be the closest thing that has that kind of aesthetic and style of dynamic sandbox MMO.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, you change the title to Too Ambitious for Its Own Good. I would say maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're in the place that we're in now. 3.6 is half of a star system, and a lot of it isn't functioning at the moment. So it feels that way now. But I still want to look at the title of today's show and make sure that we think about the past, think about the future, and in that as well. But it's more like, what experience do you want from Star Citizen? Or is more what it is. It's like, would you rather them dumb down the mechanics and just fucking fake some stuff? Or would you rather them go all out, right? And just try and take it to the next level? I think
I
they
think
should
they
cut
already
corners.
are cutting corners.
I think they should
already
cut
are.
more corners. I would
Yeah.
argue, like, the whole thing for me is I never asked for procedural planets. I never
Mm.
wanted that. I wanted a cutscene down to a planet, a nice landing zone, build that out, whether it's on a separate server or not. I don't care. You know, the landing experience is still one of the coolest things I've ever gotten out of this game, and I love it. So I don't want to take away from that. But for me, you could have taken it all out and created landing areas. Mining could have only been on asteroids, right? And salvage and all that stuff. Exploring planets didn't have to be this
but
crazy
essentially,
thing.
then you're developing just another, like what generally other games, not all of them, but some do, right? It's just
it would be very similar to a lot of other space games. It would have looked better, and maybe they could have gone more elaborate with their economy. I mean, the reason I backed the game was because of the economy aspects of it, right? That was what interested me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily the ground to air, the landing on. It just, that's where I was with it. So for me, I love the ambition because I do love the procedural planets, right? It's amazing. But I didn't back for that, and I would be okay if they weren't there. And especially knowing, we know full well that all of that content in the game has created the situation where we are right now, where server-side OCS is absolutely a necessity to do anything past 3.6.
I mean, it would have been anyway. I mean, it's about like having a future-proof and long-term game, right? So because we're looking at the time scale of, generally gamers look at games at a time scale of a year, like announcement, release, a year and a half. If you're into alpha games, then you get used to 3 years, 4 years. But with Star Citizen, it's even longer. But if essentially their strategy is long term, which it is, because you're talking about 10-year dev cycle for this game, then that means also many years of post launch. It would be much harder to implement this tech later. And the same thing goes for server side OCS. Like, it's important to get the hard stuff out right now. That's my opinion, because that's the foundation. And I think makes the most sense. But you're right. If you wanted that smaller type of game, like what you get usually, but with more content and a more finished product, definitely that could have been a way. But I don't think that would be Star Citizen. I don't think that would be Squadron either. Because Chris essentially didn't come back to make a small game. He wanted to make a huge thing, obviously, because he let all the funding in and he made huge news about it and promised the world, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing. But I know it gets like, so this is a quick thing I'll just put in. You just need one bad patch to destroy 180 good patches, and maybe you need 100 mediocre patches to make the feeling that you're not getting anywhere, from a development point or from a consumer point, gamer point. But what really, really matters is those big tech developments that are happening in the background that they're working on, that they're sharing on monthly reports on the roadmap. Yeah. That's the real progress bar.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully,
most of the bugs you see
are
server side.
Server side OCS fixes
that will
a
be
lot
another
of things.
Leap.
It'll be a leap, but I'm curious if, and this is getting off topic, but I'll be curious if that leap creates that situation where it's hype again for Star Citizen. I don't know if we'll ever have that kind of hype. Probably when we're jumping to another star system, there'll be some hype.
Yes.
But after that, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. But it'll be a lot of the same. New mechanics come in, and the next hype will probably be when they stop wiping and the game is officially launched at that point. Other than the Squadron 42 hype. But yeah, ASM, before I let you go, anything else? Because we're getting more and more callers in. I'm getting excited. This is gonna be a good show.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking for those changes at the end of the year. But again, my expectations are very low. I've said this before. I've just said every big patch I'll hop in and see. If I see progress like the loss system or other stuff like that, I'm like, okay, it's still going there. It's still getting there.
Yeah, I'm not all doom and gloom. Like, we're 100% seeing progress. It's taking longer than expected. And I'm just, like, again, like, I fall somewhere in the middle. I love the progress they're making. I love the things they've been doing. But part of me would have loved a little bit less fidelity, a little bit less insane attempts at things, maybe a little bit less multiplayer, like we don't have to have thousands of players, in one area. Maybe you regionalize servers, whatever. But I would have loved to see more of what I'm getting out, what I got
experience.
from not even arcade, just more of what I got from games like Rebel Galaxy, games like Privateer when I was younger, right? And we may eventually get there. That's the thing. We might eventually get there at one point. But it's just I'm curious what other people think. But yeah, all right, ASN.
Have a good one.
You too, man. ASN, before you go, why do you always sound so sad at the end of a call? You always sound so excited at the beginning, and you sound so sad at the end. Like I always feel like I'm letting you down every time I have to bring in another caller.
God damn it, man! I'm leaving. If that's the way you want to do it, man. I'm
no,
done.
I don't. But every time I let you go, you're like, all right, man.
You just like Sandy of Doom just said it. You just sucked the life out of me, man. I'm kidding.
all right, man. We'll see you next time. Bye. And I'm not prepared as I should be because I haven't done the show in a while. My bad, guys. I'm gonna go here. That is not where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go here, and we're gonna change to bring in the next caller. And also, I should probably check Twitter as well and see how we're doing over there. So sorry for slowing you down a little bit, but oh wow, we have lots of callers here. One of our mods on Twitter, Zeusanoxia, came in. So we will bring this one up on the show. He said, ATC 17, you backed October 2014. A scaled down star system would have been a fun game, a multiplayer game with 15 and 20 star systems, with limited landing zones and cutscenes, as well as reduced scope. Would have thought Cloud Imperium a lot of lessons about the game engine. Would have taught Cloud Imperium a lot of lessons about the game engine, I think he means. A Star Citizen 2 game would just build on top of that. Oh, okay. So you're kind of more thinking of like the Rebel Galaxy and then Rebel Galaxy Outlaw kind of thing? I don't know if I like that one necessarily, right? Like a Star Citizen and Star Citizen 2 kind of thing, really. But the whole thing for me was more, you could have probably started on or had quite a bit of star systems instead of just one, right? If you just focused on the landing zones first. But yeah, that's a really interesting take on it. Is like Star Citizen and then Star Citizen 2. And I just don't think I would have ever done it that way. You know? But yeah, that's a weird one for me. I don't know. But anyway, our next caller is Groth. So we're gonna bring in Groth. I think Groth's a first time caller. How you doing, Groth? Can you hear me? Hey, what's up, man? When did you back Star Citizen before we get into everything? Let's put that right in the first one.
Even a few days earlier than last one, October 16, 2012.
Oh, okay. So you're a 2012, so you're a way backer too. So now this will be a good...
I just missed the golden ticket.
Oh, that sucks, yeah. So how do you feel about this?
I'm between those two callers, probably the Mr. Salty.
Okay. Don't call me that.
I
just call me Mike.
Yeah, Mike. I would be fine with what they planned in 2012. And in 2012, we didn't have much in terms of space games. The X series was one of the few more like privateer space games that held the line, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff that we are getting nowadays, and especially this year, we're getting a lot. that was not even planned when Star Citizen was announced. Those were maybe influenced by that trend, but
Yeah.
it's not that that it, like the last caller said, it was like it would be just one of those games, especially if you had not the current first-person mechanic, but a first-person mechanic in terms of walking around the spaceship and manning stations like you had in some limited aspect in Star Wars Battlefront, the old ones, etc. Or you had a bit of boarding and a bit of station fighting. That together with those early cutscene landings on a few planets, I think for me that would be enough. Like if you imagine the X series plus multiplayer, I don't need the planets, and I think the planets. I mean, we definitely know that they just pushed everything so far behind. They reset a few things and Squadron, etc. So
You bring up a point, though. Do you know what else may have set things back and are still setting things back to this day? Is the unified rig thing, where the first person has to look exactly the same in third person as it does in first person.
yeah, I think they could have skipped the third person.
They
I mean,
like,
it's nice.
I just argue
but,
that you could have fixed some things. I'm glad they
Yeah.
didn't in a lot of cases, but in some ports, I really wish they did. I wonder what our FPS experience would be like, you know?
I mean, we get that there's a lot of foundations that have to be laid down first, but since 2015, they're always saying like in the next year there's something. We always get this carrot. We got this with the timeline from BAFTA 2015 when it says PU released 2016. Then we got when 2.0 released, they said, yeah, this is coming soon and this is coming soon. Then we got the carrot with 2.7, then the big 3.0 to 3.4 release list. Of course, some stuff happens, but it happens on a
It's too
big scale in
consistently.
Star Citizen.
It's too consistent with Star Citizen.
And my big point is we're getting a lot of those small, nice games. Not in a multiplayer scenario, not everything, but what the last caller said, basically it was like single player or big scope. And in terms of single player, I always say X series because that thing is hundreds of hours in one playthrough, especially with the universe extension mods you can find. And that
Are you
is
talking
the
about the
sandbox
newest
that-
X game?
No, I'm talking about the last the no the one before the last, the X3 and
X3, not Foundation. Okay.
Yeah, X3 with Albion Prelude DLC. That is basically the thing that has a big modding community,
Gotcha.
and that you can play for hundreds of hours, and people have like super long playthroughs in single player. But like something like Freelancer was like 100 people server, and then maybe modding included, plus those features. That would have been probably fine. I mean, those chips weren't, before we saw the Idris increase in size in 2015, those weren't those big number ships. And we still thought, yeah, maybe maximum like a 10-man crew and so on. And now it went up.
Yeah, significantly, right? And
Yeah.
like the thing that you bring up that's interesting is, are all of these games that you were mentioning, right? Like the X series, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, Privateer, Freelancer, right? Or anything. When we go and play them, are they feeding our excitement for Star Citizen, or are they upsetting us about kind of the pace of development of Star Citizen?
Both.
And yeah, it's doing both for me too, right? Like it brings back to what ASN said, is like, you're like, you're not getting a Star Citizen experience out of Rebel Galaxy Outlaw because it has to end. But at the same time, it pisses me off because I don't have those experiences yet, I guess. But it's also creating this excitement for, what if they actually do it? If they actually do it, this game's gonna be, I mean, it's gonna be it's gonna be life.
That is the thing why I invested
That's why we all did.
$1,000.
That's why we all did.
But now this year I just had to stop, and because I thought it was like for me personally too insane, and I just have to see something first, and
Yeah.
I'm seeing it in other games. Like I can't talk about Dual Universe because there's an NDA, but
Mhm.
that comes along quite good. Other games, like for me, like coming back to the X series, the most favorite one is the third part and the two add-ons. And that was quite perfect because there was no first person. Then they tried to include the first person, and that made it in some aspects worse. And it's a small team, that studio that is like 10, 20 people that are working in the family house of the lead of the studio. So I think they went over their heads a bit when they introduced like the first person aspects, even though they are way smaller. So I think when you keep down the scope and then you release something like Rebel Galaxy, which was good but not like awesome like the first one. The music was awesome, had some good mechanics, but the second one, like they from the point
It
they
brings
earlier
me
this
back,
year
man,
released
to my childhood.
Yeah, they released an hour like in early this year of gameplay, and that just looks like a great experience. And other games are also coming, like in their special niches, like Infinity Battlescape, the game that the last game I think CIG announced the Kickstarter of like on their website before they did it for Elite. That is coming to at least to some early access this year and in some better state. Backers could already play it. And then there are all those niche games like In the Black, which was formerly Starfighter Inc., which is very hardcore, like arena fighting, but like hardcore in terms of like flight model.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's stuff like, and I think there are games that are doing currently the whole flight experience better in terms of arcade and in terms of sim. So this middle ground of Star Citizen, I think it's currently just wonky. I mean, they just I hope they get it right, but I just find it too wonky, and I see more and more in the extremes that are doing their part better. And for example, like the first person experience, like when Star Marine came out, and or even when Star Marine was teased with zero gravity part and so on, that looked great. That was quite new. I mean, there were some zero gravity games before, but now there's coming out for PS4 a game called Boundary by some Chinese studio. That thing just looks great for like an arena FPS shooter, like with like 20 years in the future, spacesuits, so to say. And like how you what they showed in the video, the numbed down sound in space, like you only have your breath, the very numbed down sound of your gun because it's in your hand and so on. This aspect just looked better than SC, and SC has put down so much into this tech. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. I mean, for all the time they've put into Star Marine and things like that, it's not a very great experience.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And regarding the go big or go home thing, the last caller said, I always look at those like when Jim Sterling makes a video and calls it AAA developers spending hundreds of millions on games that sometime that I either have to find themselves by microtransactions or that go down bad or so. I more and more look towards indie games, small games like Terraria, like stuff that's maximum made by like 10, 20 people or so. You see like the intrigue, like storytelling, game mechanics. Like, of course, it doesn't have them all, and you have to play a lot over the year. But I think those experiences like get me more and more because of the just they're just great in their niche. And somebody in the chat earlier said like Star Citizen is great because it has everything. And I think, and that's why it attracts so many people, and that's somewhat true. But I think
They've
it
promised
has
everything.
Yeah, they promised everything, but even if it has anything, the way it's implemented, like with misfires, long travel times, that subtracts a lot of people. Like a lot of people that I gifted the game, a lot of people that backed because I recommended it in the early years, they don't want to hear anything anymore about the game.
I'm not surprised.
They are annoyed when I talk about it,
Yeah.
and when I have my good days.
Yeah, definitely. It a lot of
Yeah.
those things are a turnoff, and they don't quite seem to understand why. We'll get into the misfire topic at some point, maybe on the show, where
Yeah, with the misfires, my problem is they have only even with 500 people, they have only so many like core programmers for their gameplay mechanics, and some of them are doing stuff for Squadron, and I don't think misfires is something that must be in Squadron. Like people coming to a game that's
I'll stop you there because
being
we're
complex.
totally off topic, Roth. We gotta stay on topic with it. I agree. We will talk about it one day, and I hope you call. But
yeah,
I think that they belong in the game, believe it or not. So, I'll have to disagree.
To say one thing, but I think that's part of the creep. I think if
Yeah,
they
sure.
just first did core game mechanic and then did
Yeah.
stuff that enhanced the game mechanic, that would have been better.
Yeah. And I still think that that's what misfires are. But yes. So, okay. Is there anything else before I bring on the next caller that you want to talk about?
Probably not. Just
Okay.
that I think there are so many games coming out now, and I think that if SC, and I don't mean Squadron, if SC won't show something in the next 1 or 2 years, that's really a massive step towards a real game experience. Then I think stuff like DU, stuff like Starbase, which was just announced a few months ago with its 100 player servers. I think those will take a good chunk of the gaming community, both the potential ones and the people that just will have enough and just want to migrate away.
Yeah. But the whole thing is are they going to migrate away waiting for this, or are they going to migrate away permanently? And I still think no matter what, with the ambition that the game has, which is where this kind of question comes into play, is are they just leaving and waiting? And I think in almost every situation, anybody who leaves Star Citizen to go play and plays other games, they're just waiting to come back.
That's the hope. I mean, if it's not coming out that way in a good fashion, then I've just thrown away a couple of €1,000. So, whoops.
Whoops. Lit them on fire. No big deal. You can always make more money. That's the thing. As long as you're working, you got a job.
That's true.
You always can make more money. So sometimes you make mistakes with it. No big deal. Go make some more. But all right, Groth, I'm going to leave you there. Thank you so much for calling. Was this your first call ever?
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah. So thank you for calling, and I appreciate it. And I hope we have you on again soon. It was a really nice call.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too, man. Bye. All right, so before we bring on our next caller, I'm sure we have some tweets because there were lots of messages there. So let's go ahead and update that. And go here. There we go. And let's see. We got Matt Brown, or Dragor, from Twitch chat. So that would be right here. And he says, back since August 2013, I don't think Star Citizen is too ambitious. They are pushing gaming tech. This ride isn't accident-free. They lost dev time to mistakes like Ilphonic, but it's still a ride I have enjoyed. And yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one, man. So it is a ride. They do seem to be pushing tech in some fashion or another, and it's been really interesting to see. I've learned so much about kind of how gaming development works. Even though I still don't understand so much, I still know infinitely more than I knew before I came into Star Citizen. But you know, it's the accidents eventually hurt, and at some point your car is going to get totaled, right? So if you keep trying to push the technology, at what point does the car become not usable for its player base, right? To kind of use his analogy there a little bit. You get into enough accidents, you can't drive the car anymore. So yeah. But would you have rather a Ford or a Lambo, they say in Twitch chat? Can we have something in between? You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at, right? I wish we could have had some fake things, some realistic things. It's some kind of middle ground, maybe, where I feel like they're just shooting for the moon maybe a little bit too much. But yeah. All right, so let's bring in the next caller and see what they think, because this is definitely less about what I think and totally more about what you guys think. So the next caller is Shadowhunter255. Hey, Shadow. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you, Mike?
Good. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. So I've only been back since the 8th of May 2018. So I've only been backing since I just checked when you were asking people. So I've been backing for about 16 months, 14 or 16 months.
Okay.
So I'm not a 2012 backer or anything like that.
Yeah.
But my interpretation is that there was a vote whether the Star Citizen community wanted to keep it as it was supposed to be originally, or if they said to Chris to go through and
Go
make
nuts.
what Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And my understanding was that the vote, it came in around, wasn't it 85% or something, said go nuts, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but yeah, it was overwhelmingly, go ahead, Chris, do your thing.
Yeah. And look, so the game that you described, I haven't played that game before, but for example, I used to play Destiny. I'm a big Destiny 1 player. I put like 3,000 hours in Destiny 1. Yes, I have no life. But
we
I was
all
gonna
have
say,
that game.
That is...
We all have that
but I was
one
gonna
game.
say, but-
Okay.
Yeah, true. But I was going to say, but Destiny is very much like what you were describing with the landing zones, where it's a loading zone that takes you down to the planet, and you basically go through and you shoot a whole bunch of bad guys, and then you're back onto a loading zone to go back to the social space. And that is very much like what Destiny was. And if Star Citizen was that, I would be thinking this is another Destiny type game. It doesn't... The reason I backed Star Citizen is because of the fact that I can go in and I can fly around the universe, and I can fly and land on planets and take off and go anywhere I want without loading screens or being on rails per se.
And I'm going to stop you there real quick, because going back to that vote point, Hegemon in chat brings up a really, really good point. And he says... That, and because it was so early in the game's development that we didn't understand as much as we understand now, where that vote was made, I'm reading him quote for quote. It was a vote made by highly uninformed and uneducated people in regards to the scope, nature, and reality of game development. And there is no truer statement than that. That's true. If I wonder what would happen and where that vote would be if we know what we know now in terms of just how game development works, and then on top of it, we would also know where we are now with Star Citizen and be like, no, sorry, But
I will say that the whole idea of Star Citizen 1, Star Citizen 2, making Star Citizen 2 a bigger, grander thing, it doesn't work. Not always anyway, because that's what Destiny and Destiny 2 did. When we went to cross over to Destiny 2, we lost everything. We lost all our characters, we lost all our guns, everything. We had to start from scratch because the tech had changed.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I know it's... like I said, I've been waiting 14 months. Not as much as some other people, but I have zero tolerance when it comes to being patient. But like I say, but I've been waiting 14 months for Star Citizen. I want the game out as much as the next guy, right?
Of course.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, those games that are on rails, those games that have those loading screens to landing zones, they've already been done. And to be honest, these new games that are coming out now, like Starbase and stuff like that, how many of those do you think have sat there, looked at Star Citizen, thought, wow, Chris Roberts has made or funded $300,000 or $300 million, sorry. We could actually make a game, and they've been encouraged to go through and to make their own game because of the scope of Star Citizen. And, you know, like even like I think it was Bethesda or something like that was talking recently about making a space sim game. And it seems like now that Chris Roberts has got out and sort of stuck his boot up everybody's butt, people are starting to say, well, hang on. No, well, hang on. This guy, this indie studio that's raised $300 million can go through and do it. Why can't a AAA game do it? Why do we get games like Anthem, for example, when Chris Roberts can go through and make Star Citizen? And I think, yes, it's frustrating to wait, but the flow-on effects from Star Citizen, even just attempting it, is sort of kicking the gaming industry in the butt sort of thing. Not to mention the fact that if he can pull it off, and I do believe he will, when he does pull it off, it's going to be a game that you won't play any other game. It's going to be Star Citizen 24/7. It's, you know, every other game you're just probably going to end up saying, yeah, it looks good, but I'm just going to keep playing Star Citizen because this game's going to do everything that we want it to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's ruined games in general for me. Right?
Yeah. I don't know the last AAA game that I actually went out and brought.
Because it just doesn't have enough.
No. Yeah. And then like this is like still in development. And I'm like, this game is in development and I have more fun playing it than I do playing Anthem, playing Destiny, playing any other AAA game. You know, like Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I saw the trailer for that and I thought, yeah, I might go out and pre-order it so I can play the beta and stuff like that. But to be honest, I tell you now, I'm probably going to play that for a week, a month, maybe. But I'm still going to come back to Star Citizen.
Yeah. And the whole thing for me is Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is the only game in a long time that has gotten my juices flowing for a video game where I don't want to play anything other than that video game. And for like a long time, you know, I feel like I'm going to play that thing all the way through. And that's all that I want to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I think Chris has done the right thing in, is the game too ambitious for its own good? Yeah, it's ambitious. It's definitely ambitious. For its own good, maybe. We'll have to see how it goes when Chris obviously releases it. But I'm kind of, like I say, I think a lot of people have backed this game because they're waiting for it to come out. Like I've got friends at work that are waiting for this game to come out so that they can go through and play it. And, you know, they might have thrown and brought through a starter pack or whatever it may be. And they're just waiting for it to be finished so that they can go and they can jump in it and they can play it from day one. And I think a lot of people in the community, the people that we don't tend to hear about, they're the ones that are just patiently waiting for the game to be finished.
Oh, yeah. The silent majority is definitely just hanging out waiting. There's no drama. They're like, oh, you know, they're probably like, where the hell is it? But they're also just like, they're not as ingrained and involved as we are.
Yeah. And like these people at work, for example, right? They ask me weekly what's happening in Star Citizen. So it's not like they've forgotten about it. It's not like they're not interested in it or anything like that. You know, I've even said to them, look, man, I've got a spare account. Jump in and play because I want some friends. But I was going to say, but at the end of the day, they're like, no, I just want to wait for it to be finished before, you know, they can get into it. So I think the overwhelming majority of people are just patiently waiting. And I think the people that are the vocal minority are the ones that are we hearing about. They're the ones saying, you know, it's taking too long, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, and I think after Squadron 42 comes out, they're going to make some leaps and bounds when it comes to obviously it's going to free up a few devs because obviously they'll have all those core systems in. Obviously they're going to make episode 2, but it's a lot easier to make episode 2 than it is to build the whole thing from scratch. It's just simply changing assets, storyline, stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's going to free up a few devs. And after they get things like server OCS and stuff like that, I think that's also going to free up a bit. We were talking about this before you did your show.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like, for example, like
That's a big
planets,
one.
like, like the planets for like Squadron, they have to have been done by now, or at least getting done because they're in Squadron 42. So I think they're further along than people think. I think we just don't get to see it because of limitations on servers and because of the fact that the PU or the PTU it's a testing universe. It's not meant to be the full game.
But it's also
anyway
spoken like it is a lot of the time. But yeah.
Yeah, well, there was someone I was talking to the other day. I think it might have been Vertigo, actually. He turned around and said they were looking through the files and they were trying to find a certain audio file because they wanted to use it for their Twitch account. I'm not sure if it was you, Vertigo, someone. And they turned around and said that all the files in that DAT file, there's a huge amount of files and that we're only seeing a small minority of them. Because the rest of them, they're ready to go. They're just not implemented right now. So it's sounding like there's a lot more work being done on behind the scenes
that we aren't seeing.
That we don't necessarily. Yeah, we're not seeing. We're not seeing the man behind the curtain, so to speak.
And I think the point you're making, and I meant to bring it up, was that with server-side OCS and then obviously a lot of the scale of the game not even being possible. Is like this topic is maybe too early to discuss to some extent, but I still just wanted to see how people kind of felt.
Yeah, I think once server OCS goes in, then we're going to start seeing Star Citizen start going out and sort of expanding at a more rapid pace because at the moment they're trapped.
I mean, we thought the same thing with object container streaming, so that's where I'm like, I hope, but I'm not expecting anything.
Yeah, with object container streaming, I think that sort of they underestimated that because they sort of thought, well, when we get this put in, that will free up a lot of resources on the machines, but they forgot to account for servers.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like it's a two-sided coin, but I should let other people jump in and yeah.
Oh, okay, Shadow. Yeah. All right, man. Well, as always, thank you for your call. I'm glad you've become a regular on the show, so I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Later, man.
Thanks, man.
Bye now. All right, and our next caller is the Curly one. I'm gonna bring him on. Hey, Curly, what's up?
Hey,
or the one Curly. I said the Curly one. The one Curly.
Yeah, I'm Curly SC in Twitch.
So,
right,
what's up, man? First time, right?
Yeah, first timer.
Awesome.
2016 citizen.
Okay.
I had to look it up because it's so long.
Yeah.
Well, it's really difficult to catch on all the other guys, in my opinion, because it's like so different looks at it.
Yeah.
For me, it's more about the core question for this ADC. It's like too ambitious for its own good, and for me, it's like yes.
Okay.
But it's also because like mostly also we are as a community have too ambitious visions on it.
That's very true. Very good point.
We want, or like, for me, the most annoying thing, or people in our community are more like these, I want to push that button in the cockpit, and I want to do this and that there. And for me, it's like, no, because it makes everything more complicated, and I'm losing the fun in flying at the moment. So I'm always the guy sitting in a turret or waiting in the canteen of a bigger ship because I don't want to fly it anymore, and that's my main problem with it. I'm losing the fun on the gameplay because it gets too complicated.
Okay.
And yeah, that's my take on it. It's like also there are people who just want it like this, like adjust the power plant for nothing, you know. Like for me, yeah, okay, there's a power plant, there's a perk on the power plant. With that power plant, I'm faster than the other one, or it's longer stable or whatever. But I don't want to tweak it or overclock it or whatever. I just want the power plant in my ship, you know.
That's sort of fair, but the problem with what you're saying is that we all, like, it was always, at least from my understanding, even from way back in 2012, that the game was going to be relatively hardcore, lots of working and moving parts, which is kind of what you're like, I don't really like that, but like we always kind of knew that going in.
Yeah,
so
I got you on that.
What's
like,
changed then for you?
It's also like I like that there is an engineering station, because I would like to do an engineering job on a ship. But if it's all pointed on the pilot at the moment, then it's getting too much, in my opinion. And also, like,
Agreed.
the ambitious thing, it's always the planet tech gets pointed out.
Yes.
But for me, the planet tech, yes, of course. With that, there are new game mechanics coming in and locations and whatnot. But for me, it was not the reason why I went to Star Citizen, but it's definitely one where I stayed and played Star Citizen because I want to have the scope of it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the breaking things or the ambitious things are more the little things what annoy me, what are making everything like too complicated. So like you playing Rebel Galaxy at the moment, and Rebel Galaxy for me is like, it's the perfect example for having fun on gameplay and just playing it, you know, and not have to fight the game.
Of course, but that's the difference between a game that is stuck in development. Like a lot of people are saying it's still in development, it's an alpha, blah blah. It's somewhat stuck in development, I think, is a better way to say it. And for right now, at least, right? And Rebel Galaxy is a game that's finished. The Rebel Galaxy is a game that's single player, right? So going all the way back to the first caller, I don't know if you heard him or not, but like,
of course.
the differentiation of the two is big, because yes, Rebel Galaxy is really fun, but how long are you going to play Rebel Galaxy for, right? When you bought into Star Citizen and you spent whatever amount of dollars that you spent, whether it was the $45 initial thing or the hundreds and thousands that some people have spent, the reason that I think we're okay spending that money is that amount of money should be spread out over a number of years. Am I going to play Rebel Galaxy every day for the next few years at the minimum? No. I'm going to play it for a month maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also, we had like a discussion where I said, like with the other guy from New York, it has to get a little bit dumbed down, but it's not the real word for dumbing. It's like, I'm a fan also in music with minimalistic. So the minimal thing is probably the better and easier way to have fun on something.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah, so you want to simplify things a little bit more for you. Okay.
Exactly.
I agree, and
that's what the problem with ambitiousness is for me.
Okay.
It's like it's getting too complicated. It's getting too much. I just want to play the game.
Yeah, and what's funny is you seem to be looking at it from a player's standpoint, where it's too complicated for you to enjoy, and like that's not the question that I asked, because I more asked on the side of, is it too ambitious for its own development? But when you bring up that point, it's like an interesting one as well. Like, are they being too ambitious on the just everything side? And I think the last caller kind of mentioned this too, was that it's just not going to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also why make something complicated when it gets easier? It's like, I don't know, with sound design or something. It's like the easier way is often the better way, and you find the failures more easier and everything, you know.
Yeah,
so I think like the ambitiousness is also like within the gameplay and the complication and the fun for the players.
Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting take and a different one.
Yeah, and that's also for me like the time span SC takes at the moment. As somebody else, I think Gruff was it. He also said like other games catching up, and yeah,
Yeah,
the other
time.
games are catching up, absolutely. And yeah, at the moment, SC is one of the most beautiful games and whatnot. But I mean, like if you play other AAA single player games, they ahead of it again. So it won't stay till release. It won't stay the most beautiful game, in my opinion. And if they don't change the ambitiousness thing, it won't be also a fun game to play. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm a little bit critic on the complicated side. So
Okay, interesting though, but yeah, a totally different kind of way of thinking than a lot of people were that called so far. So, all right, Curly, is there anything else before we bring in our
No.
final caller for the day?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm joining chat again.
All right, have fun. I'll see you in there.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, and our next caller is Bad Words, and I'm getting him on the overlay right now, real quick. This is what happens when you don't do ATC enough. Bad Words, what's up? Welcome.
What's going on?
How's it going, dude?
It's going good.
All right. So, what are your thoughts, man? Too ambitious for its own good, or you like the ambition where it's at?
Well, like a lot of people have said that there's hold on, let me turn. A lot of people have said, I don't know how many people are used to Chris Roberts. You know,
Yeah.
as you know, there's some old school people. I remember playing original Wing Commander. He's not a guy who doesn't do revolutionary, like ambitious, like games.
Yeah.
I remember when Wing Commander 3 came out, and literally he was telling people, okay, you're going to need a video card. No one even knew what a video card was.
Yeah.
I remember upgrading to a Pentium 100 with a little Trident video card in order to play Wing Commander 3.
Yep.
You
I
know,
remember
and-
begging my parents for a computer so I can play Wing Commander 3.
And Wing Commander 3, all the revolution was being able to land inside the carrier. That was all it was. Having a
No.
3D model ship. Hell, I mean, having the full
Going
motion
from
video.
8-bit like pixel art to 3D models as well.
Well, not all the ships are 3D models. Some of them were still doing that Doom, pixel thing. But yeah, there were 3D models.
It was a
in there,
bigger
too.
step up, and then on top of that, it was the first game that ever had cutscenes acted by real people in them. Come on, give Wing Commander 3 some credit here, dude.
Oh, come on, Sierra. If you were a Sierra person, you were used to full motion video at that point. So, but anyway, going forward,
I will fight you
then,
to
of
the
course,
death about Wing Commander 3. All right.
well, anyway, then we skip over to when he jumps over to Microsoft. Star Lancer, pretty straightforward flight sim. You know, you're in a ship, nothing too progressive. Made Microsoft happy.
I never played it, so yeah.
Star Lancer was okay. It was like Wing Commander, except you actually had some gimmicky ships. Like you actually had a ship with stealth, and you had a mission where you would actually cloak up for parts of it and stuff like that. So they did add a few mechanics.
Did Star Lancer come after Wing Commander 4?
Yes. Star Lancer. Actually, Star Lancer came out. I don't believe he had part of One of them he didn't have part of.
Wing Commander 5 he didn't have any part of.
Yeah, so I think it was 4.
And that's why it was so
then
fucking
he
bad.
Yeah, I think it was 4, and then he went to Star Lancer.
Okay.
And then Star Lancer, they were happy. That's greenlit Freelancer. Freelancer, of course, is the meta core of what Star Citizen was based on. It was just we're going to make better Freelancer.
Okay.
And
I've played
so,
Freelancer. And
so
it's really good, but it's also really, you could tell that it's unfinished.
Well, yeah, because it was rough. But I'll tell you this. One of the things that people don't remember about Freelancer was when they were doing the reviews and they were like, okay, what flight controllers should we support for this? And he's like, well, I do support flight controllers, but you're going to want a mouse and keyboard. Remember, that threw everyone for a loop when they were hearing about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about? And then you finally understood about your ships and the gimbaled weapons.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I want it like a Star Trek kind of thing where, you know, you can shoot in all directions, makes more sense. And you're like, what is this? I want my flight stick. And then you got one over.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, with Star Citizen, mouse and keyboard is a possibility. You know, you don't totally disregard it or feel like it's like, okay, well, I can't afford a flight stick, because there are ships that benefit from that kind of, and I like that. But that's due to him.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, getting back to it, again, like you said, I'm one of those under like 30,000 backers. So, you know, I was the long haul guy. And again, like you said, he originally promised better freelancer. That was all you were getting. It was like, okay, we're gonna get better freelancer.
Like, I'm in.
And yeah, it's like, yeah, this is great. And even if you see people who are playing that, like Outlaw Galaxy, you know, Rebel is good. It feels like a privateer, but it's still, because it doesn't have the gimbaled ships. You know, a lot of stuff. I still feel like it's behind where Freelancer was. Also, the fact that it had no multiplayer. You know, Freelancer had done all of what Rebel Galaxy did, and it's what now been 20 years.
Sure.
I just rather someone, you know, I rather someone. I don't think he lost his way. Sorry,
He's responding to Twitch chat, saying that that bad words is saying Chris Roberts lost his way.
I'll say this. You know, I think the biggest problem with Star Citizen was Kickstarter. Being able to put those Kickstarter goals
and
is
just
what led
suck money in like a vacuum.
Yeah, because after he even left Kickstarter, he kept those ideas of tiered goals, and that was, and of course the vote came afterwards. That's like, okay, should we stop doing tiers every $1 million? Imagine if we're at $2 million. Imagine if we were still doing $1 million tiers up to this point.
What would the goal look? What would this year's goal look like? Like you'd start as a single cell. It would be like Spore in space. Like you'd start as a single celled organism, and then eventually, like, you can grow it in a like a test tube, and then make your own aliens or something, right? Like that's literally where we would be.
Imagine all the stuff he would have borrowed. Okay, hats, guys. Now when you destroy a ship, hats will fall out.
Or like, let's not go down this way, because it can get ridiculous. People are excited in chat for the alien farming, by the way.
And stacking of hats. That's also big.
I see that as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where I still, even after talking to everybody, I'm still kind of in the middle.
Yeah, but going back to the thing, I feel like for him, that Kickstarter, those goals were his loot boxes, because he knew if he just pushed those goals, money was coming. And I remember when they took that during their final Kickstarter campaign, they all went out to eat dinner, and there was just a lamp and a chair, and the chair made $5 million or something.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, get that chair back on.
Yep. And like, that had to have been like a light bulb, and that's where we have like pet stretch goals. You know?
Yeah.
And some idiot at every fucking CitizenCon who holds up a lamp and never puts it down. He's literally the strongest man on the face of the earth. This guy, I swear, for 3 hours straight, was holding up a lamp and never put it down at CitizenCon LA, or was in Germany. I don't know who the lamp man is, but you're superhuman. All right.
I almost went to one CitizenCon, but I might need to go just to see if Lampman exists.
Yeah,
this guy
he's a
sounds
real
like
man.
I need to shake his.
He's a real man. It's true. But yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, but I do think I do agree with when we're talking about ambition, we're talking about misfires and some of these mechanics. I feel this is where I feel they kind of lost their way. They're trying to push. It's obvious.
See, Chris did lose his way. You said it.
Well, I'll say on one part. I think the idea is that they're trying to mask travel time. It's pretty clear. They don't want you to AFK every time you leave a planet, and because of that, they're trying to. I don't think putting tediousness and mini games in there is the answer to that. Again, because they don't have their AI up to snuff to attack you at command or really make an adventure on a mission. They're trying to do other things, and I think they're going the wrong way. I think that you need complexity. Eve is a perfect example of how a game is now 20 years old because complexity is good. Eve, simple complexity.
Yeah, but it has to be simple complexity, not this. I mean, guys, it's a space sim, right? Traveling 10-15 minutes where okay, here's a problem, and I can't believe I'm getting into this again on another Answer the Call. Quantum travel is simple. You don't do anything, right? You press a button. So what needs more complexity? Quantum travel or the amount of time it takes to get from one place to another?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I always felt, if you want to add something to quantum travel for people to do, you put your little advertising thing in while you're quantum traveling. So when the ship's passing certain areas, they're just getting ads or putting in the music station in, or I understand having misfires and things where because again, the money sink, because you can get all your stuff back, you need money sinks. So you need to have wear. So that's an absolutely thing. I think having it where you literally your quantum drive can misfire, drop you out after you AFK and screw you for how long because you weren't paying attention to your screen, that's extreme.
Yeah.
I'd rather having to sit there and watch because there's a pirate going to interdict me, but at the same time giving me things to do, saying, okay, well, do you want, or doing skill checks. I don't mind skill checks where it's not going to destroy your ship, but it's kind of like you want to get a little faster, then do this. You want to get a little more crank, do this, or do like something in consequence, but don't make the consequence stop the travel. Just make the consequence be like, okay, well, you can't do this one, now you have to do this other more complicated game, like stacking the hold for transport, or you can trade more if you organize this thing, or just do some shift things.
You realize how ridiculous
I'm reaching.
You are,
but I'm just saying examples of, okay, well, if I got 10 minutes and my character can move around the ship, and it means that I can save 5 or 6 minutes when I get there, a lot of people might opt to do it, and it's something other than or you can just control, you can alt tab out, or
you could just shorten them.
Well, we'll get to
or you could just shorten them, dude. And you could spend more time playing the fucking game. You could just do that, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But hey,
I'll say this, if they short them, they're gonna have to short the rewards on missions, because you can do so many more missions. I don't know.
Listen, dude, we're not. I'm gonna listen. I'm the host, so I'm gonna stop the topic of the discussion when I make my last point, so I win in my mind. But because I know you could definitely argue this, but I'm not asking them to make them instant. I'm just asking to shorten them from the ridiculous length that they are now. There definitely needs to feel like you're traveling. There definitely needs to be some space in between. What I'm saying is you can charge the same amount that you're charging for missions now and take a 6, 7, 8 minute quantum travel time down to a 2, 3, 4, 5 minute time, and have it still be an enjoyable game and not a horrible experience. But that's it for the quantum travel talk. Let's get back on the ambition and all that. I'm sorry, but I know that we can go on forever, and then it takes away from the point of the show.
No, I see what you're saying. So no, ambition is, I don't think they've, other than these misfires and these mechanical things to try to give people some sense of something to do and add more syncs.
Yeah.
I don't think they've really done much to add more to it. I think the problem is that we haven't seen those promises from we haven't seen a jump. A jump is a
No.
very basic thing that we have not seen, and that weighs on people. You know, docking we have not seen. We've seen these giant ships. We have the Orion. We've seen the Orion for what now? 6 years now.
Mhm.
We've seen the Orion, and we or
no,
the hulls.
not 6 years, but yeah.
The hulls we've seen for at least 6-7 years, and
The game started development in 2012. It's 2019. It's been like
okay.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's still a long time for.
It's
you
a
know,
long
the
time
basic
regardless.
Promises.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say basic promises need to be met before the. You know, I think a lot of people, yes, they're focused around, as you're saying. If you look at if you're listening to all of their YouTubes, they are building around their tools right now. That may not be necessarily. It's great for them because they're like, okay, well, we got a tool for this, so we're gonna make more of these stations and do all this stuff, but where's the tool for a jump drive? You know, where's these tools? Like, the one thing I thought was odd was why did they not have a tool for flight model? You know,
They do.
They
do,
they
They
do,
showed
but they
it.
never.
They showed it.
I think they showed like the the simulation for flight model, but
Yeah, but they showed like being
don't-
able to like quickly change numbers and see how it affects on drag and all that. They showed it. For the newer one.
Okay.
Yeah. Back in the day,
Yeah.
no. I don't think so, but the newer one, they definitely showed it.
Yeah, but I always felt like, critical tools like that should have been more upfront and stuff. I remember the planet creation was just them just throwing. Now they said that they have the random. Did they ever say they completed the random population of the planets, or that's still on the horizon as far as the
I
planets
don't know.
themselves?
Everything's tier 0. That's basically how I understand it.
Because I remember they're talking about we're going to put caves in here, and I'm like, oh, great. Just make a round planet. Make 200 round planets. That's all people ask. 200 round planets.
Yeah, we'll see. But, all right. I mean, I don't know. We're getting towards the show being a little bit longer, so do you want to make your final point? Is it too ambitious for you?
At this point, they have, I think right now, as long as they don't add anything else, it's fine. They have to work through their plate right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we
I'm
can
with
hope
you.
for. As far as right now, I'm still getting my promised freelancer. Some other people are getting their promised first-person shooter. All the other stuff tacked on. I think it's just people would love the freelancer. People want to play their freelancer because they've been waiting longer for it before the first-person shooters get their Halo.
Yeah.
I think that's all really the nitpicking you're kind of hearing in the end. It's like, I want Halo, and the other one's like, I want freelancers. Like, who was offered what first?
Yeah.
So and of
Sorry,
course,
Rexilla. We're getting our freelancer first, motherfucker.
But anyway, but right now I haven't seen, in the last year or so, or at least 2 years, no, I haven't seen any major. We're adding we're adding the Death Star or something like that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, none of that's happened. So I would say they've been pretty disciplined about not promising anything new, and so I'll go with that. It's at least on faith of saying that at least they know that they have a lot to work through before promising anything else.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think that's a great place to leave the call and leave the show right there, because I think that's kind of where I want to leave my final thoughts with it. So, Bad Words, thank you for coming on. It was great.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you on as well, man. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. So that's definitely where I want to leave it. He makes an amazing point, and it's that they have a lot to get through now, and they haven't really done too much to make it worse in recent time, and as far as the ambition goes. And that's the one thing that, I go back to weeks and weeks ago. Sean Tracy was on a Star Citizen Live, or it may have even still been called Reverse the Verse at the time, where he said, we are working on scaling this game to what we promised you. That is what we're doing right now. And that's a lot of the holdup for a lot of the things that we're dealing with right now, is they're all in on a couple things. They're all in on Squadron, we all know that, and they're all in on a lot of the technology and tools that it's going to take for them to actually make Star Citizen. So that's like the ultra positive thing about what's going on is they seem focused on the right things and not on the wrong things. Right? So that's kind of where it is. But at the same time, it's 2019, and where did my years go, right? And where's my gameplay and things like that. So I feel like we're focused on the right things right now, and that's why I fall like somewhere in between. Is I would have loved to see them simplify things a lot more, so we have more gameplay, and I feel like once the game can sell itself, it's gonna, the funding is always gonna carry itself in an upwards direction, as long as they keep doing things like ship sales, where people can go above and beyond what would be normal for your average video game. And yeah, so unfortunately I have to sneeze. I'm allergic to being positive. Sorry. So that's kind of where things are at for me, is I'm in a positive place. I think the ambition has brought us into like an amazing place with Star Citizen, but it's also prevented a lot of the simplified, fun game mechanics that we got from Chris Roberts games of old and a lot of space sims that we're playing now, right? So only time will tell where we end up in the future, but I still feel like the future is bright, and maybe the tunnel got longer as they were like building the tunnel out and making it longer as we were riding through it for a while, but I feel like we're actually moving towards the light for the first time in a while, over the last kind of year or so. And we'll kind of see once server-side OCS comes out how quickly gameplay starts getting implemented into the game. And from there, then it's really like if they wave another technology carrot in front of our face that like, guys, we can't do anything unless we have this, then I'm kind of not going to be as positive as I feel right now about a lot of the things. So, all right, everybody. I think that's a great place to leave the show. And yeah, and somebody mentioned server meshing in chat. That server-side OCS and server meshing, I'm kind of combining into one thing, even though they're two different things. So yeah, the server meshing is going to definitely be another carrot to make the MMO feel like an MMO. But server-side OCS should create a situation where they can start adding more gameplay and more elements into the game again. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, server meshing is going to be another one of those carrots. But I guess after server meshing, I should say, not server-side OCS. Yeah, and somebody mentioned persistence in the chat as well. That is less important to me, believe it or not, than the other things. Just for me, the most important thing is watching the development ramp up its pace, and we'll see what happens after server-side OCS. So again, I think this is a great place to leave the show. I thought it was a really great show. I thought it was a really great topic. We heard a lot of differing opinions and views somewhat. And I'm really looking forward to your comments and reading those about how you feel about the game when you backed and kind of how you feel about it. So definitely leave a comment below. Definitely like and subscribe. We're very close to 5,000 subscribers. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next week.